我想。Oh yes sir. Yes sir. I just put up in it. Me and Bubba in this motherfucker. 我想。Walk his ass down, man. Okay.
What's up, everyone? This is your breakdown of one of the wildest concert situations we've seen this year. NBA Youngboy just turned New Orleans into absolute chaos. And we need to talk about everything that went down. I'm talking about the Atlanta controversy, the dangerous Bourbon Street incident that has the whole city on edge, the massive police response, the budget crisis, and what this all means for the future of hip-hop concerts in major cities. This story has so many layers to it, and honestly, it shows just how powerful and controversial Youngboy has become in the rap game. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into everything that happened. Let's set the stage here. NBA Youngboy is currently on his mass tour, hitting cities across the country. Now, this tour hasn't been without its problems. Several shows have already been canceled due to safety concerns, but the majority of them have been successful. Youngboy's fan base is incredibly dedicated, probably one of the most loyal in hip-hop right now, and they show up no matter what. But with that level of devotion comes a certain intensity that makes city officials and police departments very, very nervous. And rightfully so, as we're about to see. So let's rewind a few days to where this all really started to blow up. NBA Youngboy is in Atlanta for a show, and it's packed. The energy is electric. Thousands of fans are there to see him perform. But during the performance, something unexpected happens. City officials, and I'm talking about judges, activists, commissioners, actual government representatives, they come out on stage and present him with what fans believe to be a key to the city of Atlanta. Now, for an artist, especially one as young as Youngboy, this is supposed to be a huge honor. It's recognition from the city, an acknowledgement of your impact and contribution. The crowd goes absolutely wild when this happens. They're celebrating, recording on their phones, posting it everywhere. It's a big moment. But here's where everything takes a turn. Right after receiving this honor from city officials, Young Mia performs his controversial diss track, I Hate Youngboy. And this isn't just any diss song. This track goes at King Von, a deceased Chicago rapper who still has a massive protective fan base. It goes at Lil Durk, one of the biggest names in Chicago drill music. It targets Atlanta artists, which is wild because he's literally in Atlanta receiving an award, and it even goes at people from his own hometown of Baton Rouge. The song is basically a musical middle finger to everyone he's ever had beef with. And the Atlanta crowd, they lose their minds. They're jumping, screaming, rapping along to every word. In that moment, it's pure chaos, pure energy, pure Youngboy. But the next morning, social media wakes up, and it's a completely different story. People who weren't Youngboy fans, especially fans of the artist he was dissing, were absolutely furious. The main question everyone was asking was, how could Atlanta give this man a key to the city, and then watch him disrespect their artists on stage? How could city officials participate in honoring someone who immediately turns around and performs a song that's basically inflammatory? The backlash was intense, and it was immediate. City officials found themselves in a public relations nightmare, so they went into damage control mode. First, a representative came out and tried to clarify that Youngboy wasn't actually given a key to the city. They said he was given a key to the state. Now think about that for a second. They thought this clarification would calm people down, but it actually made things worse, because logically, a state is bigger than a city. Georgia is bigger than Atlanta, so if anything, this made the honor seem even more significant. Not let people on social media were clowning Atlanta officials for this response. The memes were flying, the criticism was relentless. Then they tried a different approach. A representative went on an Atlanta radio station and gave another explanation. They claimed the award wasn't really an honor at all. Instead, they said it was meant to advocate against gun violence, to encourage Youngboy to clean up his lyrics, and to use his platform to convince kids not to bring guns to school. Essentially, they were trying to frame it as some kind of intervention or responsibility placement rather than recognition. But by this point, the damage was done. The internet had already made up its mind. Atlanta had fumbled and they were getting roasted for it across every platform. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Due to all this controversy and backlash, Atlanta officials made the decision to cancel Youngboy's second scheduled show in the city. They probably thought this would help calm things down, show that they were taking the criticism seriously, and maybe prevent any potential violence or problems. But did that stop Youngboy's fans? Absolutely not. In fact, it might have motivated them even more. Fans showed up at the stadium anyway. Even though the official concert was canceled, they gathered outside in massive numbers and basically held their own unofficial concert. They were playing Youngboy's music, rapping along, creating that concert atmosphere themselves. It was a powerful statement about fan loyalty and dedication. The city canceled the show, but the fans made it happen anyway. Now, Louisiana officials are watching all of this Atlanta drama unfold on the internet and on the news, and they're getting nervous. Like really nervous. Youngboy has 2 concert dates scheduled in Louisiana, his home state in New Orleans specifically. And before these shows even happen, officials are already trying to figure out how to shut them down. The Louisiana Stadium Exposition District, which manages major venues like the Superdome and the Smoothie King Center, they're in communication with local law enforcement about the potential risks. The New Orleans Police Department reaches out to ASM Global, which is the company that operates these venues, and they don't mince words. They basically say, look, we need you to understand something. This isn't about if violence or chaos happens around these concerts. It's about when there is such a high propensity for violence and unpredictable situations around NBA Youngboy concerts that we are genuinely concerned about public safety. We're going to have to activate the entire department to be around the downtown area to protect citizens and people who are just trying to enjoy the city. We're talking about a massive security operation. And here's where the financial aspect becomes a major issue. When NOAA PD says they need to activate the department, they're not just talking about regular patrol shifts. They're talking about putting 400 to 450 officers on overtime for these concert dates. 400 officers, that's an enormous deployment of resources. And overtime pay for that many officers, we're talking about a huge amount of money. This is important because New Orleans is currently facing a budget deficit crisis. The city is struggling financially, and police overtime is already one of the biggest budget concerns they have. It's a line item that keeps growing, and city officials are constantly trying to figure out how to manage it. So, No PD goes to ASM Global with what seems like a reasonable request. They ask, can you help fund the cost of all this extra security that your concert is requiring? Can the venue or the promoter chip in to help cover these overtime costs since it's your event creating this security need? ASM Global says no, they decline to help pay for it. Then NOPD asks a different question. If you're not going to help pay for the security, can you just cancel the concert? Can we avoid this whole situation by not having the show? Again, ASM Global says no, they refuse to cancel. But then ASM Global offers an interesting alternative that reveals a lot about the business and legal side of the concert industry. They tell NOPD that if the police department or the city sends an official letter to the promoter forcing the cancellation, then the promoter would sue the city instead of suing ASM Global. They're basically saying we won't cancel voluntarily, but if you force us to cancel, we'll redirect the legal liability to you. It's a smart business move by the venue, but it puts the city in a terrible position. Cancel the show and face a lawsuit from the promoter, or let the show happen and deal with massive overtime costs and potential public safety issues. And this leads to something really important that anyone in the music business needs to understand. If city officials force a cancellation of a show, the promoter has legal grounds to sue the city for damages. This is a major factor in why these controversial shows keep happening even when officials are concerned. Promoters have contracts, they have legal protections, they've invested money into marketing and production, and they expect to recoup that investment. When a city steps in and cancels a show, they're potentially liable for all of that lost revenue. so cities have to think very carefully before pulling the plug on a concert, even when they have legitimate safety concerns. It's not as simple as just saying we think this is dangerous, so it's canceled. There are real financial and legal consequences. Despite all these concerns and all this back and forth, the first New Orleans show happens. The venue is picked, security is everywhere. Those 400+ officers are activated and deployed throughout the downtown area. During the show, just like in Atlanta, NBA Youngboy performs I Hate Youngboy live. Now this is significant because before the Atlanta show, he would typically just walk off stage when that song came on and let it play for the crowd. He wasn't actively performing it, but after seeing the massive reaction in Atlanta, after seeing how the crowd went absolutely crazy, he's now fully performing the song. He's on stage, he's rapping the verses, he's engaging with the audience during it. Fans are recording everything, posting it in real time. The energy in that venue is insane, and the controversy is at an all-time high. Every performance of this song is becoming an event in itself, something that people are specifically showing up to see and record. But here's where things transition from controversial to genuinely dangerous. After the show ends, and we're talking around midnight here, NBA Youngboy makes a decision that nobody expected. He decides to walk through Bourbon Street. And I need to emphasize this. He walks through Bourbon Street with no security. Zero security. Think about what Bourbon Street is. It's one of the most famous, most crowded streets in America. Even on a regular night, it's packed with tourists, locals, people partying, people drinking. It's chaotic on a normal day. Now imagine NBA Youngboy, one of the biggest names in hip-hop right now, just walking through there after a concert with no security, no barriers, no protection. What happens next is predictable, but still shocking to see. Fans immediately recognize him and swarm. We're talking about dozens and dozens of people rushing toward him from every direction. They're screaming his name. They're pulling out their phones to record. They're trying to touch him, trying to get selfies, trying to get close. It's complete and utter chaos. The crowd is pressing in from all sides. There's no control, no organization, it's just pure mob energy. And while some fans might have good intentions, just wanting to show love or get a photo, that kind of uncontrolled crowd situation is incredibly dangerous. People can get trampled, things can escalate quickly, someone could have a weapon, anything could happen in that moment. The New Orleans police, who are already deployed throughout the area because of the concert, they see what's happening and immediately intervene. Officers have to physically push through the crowd to get to Youngboy. And according to multiple reports from people who were there and from local news coverage, officers literally had to carry him away from the scene. The reports say that he was refusing to leave at first, maybe caught up in the moment, maybe enjoying the attention, maybe not fully understanding how dangerous the situation was becoming. But the police made the decision for him. They physically picked him up and carried him to his vehicle to get him out of there before something serious happened. Now, the videos of this incident go viral almost immediately. I mean, within minutes, this is all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. And the reactions are split. Some fans are celebrating it. They're saying things like he turned New Orleans into a movie. They're praising him for being accessible, for being with the people, for not acting like he's above his fans. They see it as authentic, as him staying connected to his roots and his supporters. But on the other side, a lot of people are pointing out how incredibly reckless and dangerous this was. They're asking what would have happened if someone in that crowd had bad intentions. What would have happened if the police hadn't been right there to intervene? What would have happened if the crowd had gotten even more out of control? This wasn't just risky for Youngboy himself, it was risky for all those fans who could have gotten hurt in the chaos. It was a public safety issue on multiple levels. And this Bourbon Street incident creates serious ripple effects that are still playing out. Louisiana officials in the New Orleans Police Department immediately start pushing hard to cancel Youngboy's second show that's scheduled for October 20th. They're citing multiple reasons. Public safety concerns obviously top the list, but they're also talking about the risk of fan overflow throughout the city, traffic blockages in the downtown area, the strain on emergency services, and going back to that money issue, the absolutely massive cost of overtime paid for hundreds of officers. Remember, this isn't a one-time cost. Every Youngboy show in the city requires this level of deployment. It's not sustainable from a budget perspective, Local news stations are covering the story non-stop. WeBRZ, WWO-TV. These stations are doing nightly reports about the situation. They're interviewing city officials. They're talking to police representatives. They're getting reactions from local residents. The coverage is intense. And according to the reports, New Orleans police are on high alert preparing for the potential second concert. But here's the thing, they're also preparing for crowds even if the concert gets officially canceled. Because as we saw in Atlanta, canceling the official show doesn't mean fans won't show up anyway. The police have to be ready either way. There's also talk, and this is significant for Youngboy's future touring, that this level of police response and this level of controversy might make promoters think twice about booking him in Louisiana in the future. Promoters are in the business of making money. If a show requires a 400-officer security deployment, if it threatens to create budget crises, if it puts the promoter at risk of lawsuits and cancellations, that's not a good business proposition. So even though Youngboy has a massive dedicated fan base that will absolutely buy tickets, the logistics and costs and risks associated with his shows might start pricing him out of certain venues or certain cities. That's a real possibility that could affect his ability to tour going forward. At the end of the day, what does all of this show us? This whole situation, from Atlanta, New Orleans, from the Key to the City controversy to the Bourbon Street incident, what does it reveal? It shows just how massive NBA Youngboy's influence is. We're not just talking about music popularity here. We're talking about cultural impact on a level that forces cities to respond. He can shut down Bourbon Street. He can cause cities to activate hundreds of police officers. He can spark budget crises and force government officials into emergency meetings and difficult decisions. He can make news anchors talk about him on the evening news. He can create controversies that dominate social media for days. That's power, that's influence, that's impact beyond just album sales and streaming numbers. Love him or hate him, and trust me, people have strong opinions on both sides. NBA Youngboy is a cultural force that cities literally have to prepare for like a major event. His concerts aren't just concerts, they're security operations, they're budget considerations, they're public safety planning, they're legal negotiations. When Youngboy comes to town, it's an event that involves dozens of different stakeholders, from venue operators to police departments to city officials to promoters to insurance companies. And whether that's a good thing or a problematic thing really depends on your perspective. If you're a fan, you probably see this as proof of his importance and influence. If you're a city official trying to manage a budget and keep people safe, you probably see this as a nightmare scenario. The question going forward is, what happens next? Does the second New Orleans show happen? Do other cities start preemptively canceling his tour dates? Do promoters become more hesitant to book him? Does Youngboy modify his approach to make these shows more manageable? Or does he lean into the chaos and controversy because it's become part of his brand? These are all legitimate questions that will be answered in the coming weeks and months as this tour continues and as the fallout from these incidents continues to develop. That's the full breakdown of the NBA Youngboy New Orleans situation. From the Atlanta Key to the City controversy to the performance of his diss track to the attempted Louisiana cancellations to the Bourbon Street chaos and the massive police response and the budget implications and the legal considerations and the future of his touring. This has been one wild week in hip-hop, and it's a story that says a lot about where we are in terms of artist influence, fan culture, public safety concerns, and the business of live music in 2025. What do you think about all of this? Was the Bourbon Street walk too reckless? Should cities be canceling these shows based on potential safety concerns? Do promoters have too much legal protection? Is Youngboy's influence a positive thing or a problem? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over.